We're going to talk about the two individuals that you guys see on my screen right there. More importantly, this baby who was missing. But just to let you guys know, the biggest update is very recent, is that the remains were found. So let's talk about that. That little girl's name, let me back it up real quick right there. That is Athena Brownfield. That is Athena Brownfield. And she was 4 years old and was allegedly beaten to death on Christmas by one of her caregivers and buried near a home where they used to live, according to newly released court documents revealed on Tuesday. And I'm getting this particular article from dailymail.com, so thank you for the article. The week-long search for the 4-year-old Oklahoma girl became a recovery operation to find her remains after both of her caregivers were arrested last week. Very important. Ivan Adams, 36 years old, and his estranged wife by the name of Alicia Adams, 31 years old. The two clowns that you guys just saw on my screen, let's back it up right there so you can see that, had been caring for Athena and her sister Adina, who was 5 years old, for 2 years at their home at 225 West Nebraska Avenue in Cyril, Oklahoma. If I'm not mistaken, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. For those who are from Oklahoma, I believe Cyril is a small country town, if I'm not mistaken. That's definitely not a big place. I think it's a small little country town. So I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way, but just to say that sometimes in these smaller towns, you really don't know what's going on. They're really, really enclosed communities. Now, documents have revealed that the alleged fate of the little girl, Alicia, who is related to the girls, reportedly told Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation that on Christmas around midnight, Yvonne, the dude on the left-hand side of the screen, beat Athena to death in their Cyril home. How would you know that? They're saying that the boyfriend or the dad figure beat this girl to death in their Cyril home on Christmas around midnight. She then said Yvonne held the 4-year-old up by her arms. The child was not moving and her eyes were barely open, according to the document. After this, he is said to have laid her on the ground and punched her at least 3 more times in the chest. One of my hashtags I love to use a lot because I think it is relevant is hashtag babies for benefits. If you guys can type that in the chat. The reason I believe that they had these children in their possession, had custody of these children, because they did not love these children, is they only had them to collect some type of benefits. I'm not sure what those benefits are. It could be for power. It could be for food stamps. It could be for placement, whether they're in the child care system. It could be for a lot of different reasons, but I don't believe they love these kids at all. That's what we call hashtag babies for benefits. After he had already beat her, laid her on the ground, and punched her in the chest at least 3 more times. He's then alleged to have driven to Rush Springs around 1 a.m. on December the 26th, where he buried her body near a fence line on their old property. Her remains have not yet, well, at the time her remains hadn't been found, but to let you guys know, her remains have been found. So let me retract that. Her remains have been found, so that's a big part of the update. When Ivan, I'm sorry, why I keep saying Ivan? That's Ivan, I-V-O-N. When Ivan returned home, he allegedly told Alicia that he had placed a large broken branch over the grave. Phone records reportedly showed Ivan leaving the home and traveling to Rush Springs around 4:15 a.m. The alarm was raised on January the 10th after a postal carrier found Athena's older sister, Adina, wandering alone outside near a home in Cyril. When investigators interviewed Alicia on January the 12th, she confessed she knew what happened to Athena. Ivan was arrested on Thursday in Arizona and will be extradited back to Oklahoma where he faces a murder charge. Alicia was arrested the same day and faces two counts of child neglect. The court documents also revealed that Ivan and Alicia never took the girls to the doctor for checkups and never had them enrolled in school. When Athena's sister Adina was interviewed by authorities last week, she told them she had been home by herself and was tired of being alone. So that sounds like that was something that was done on a regular basis. This neglect charge, those two neglect charges on Alicia, I don't really think they're going to give her much time in prison, but I think she needs a lot of time in prison. I don't really know what the appropriate number is. So I'm going to just leave that alone for now because I really hope they give her a lot of time in prison. I just don't think that's going to happen, though. In a statement this week, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation said special agents, along with our partners at the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, OHP, have been searching areas of Caddo County for toddler remains. The agency asked the public not help in the search, saying that it could end up trespassing or contaminating potential evidence. The sisters' biological parents, who have not been named, I don't know why they haven't named them. I don't know why they haven't come out and done an interview yet. But the biological parents have been interviewed by authorities and are cooperating with the investigation, according to OSBI. Athena's sister had been taken into protective custody. Thank goodness for that. One of the children survived. Volunteers and multiple law enforcement agencies have been involved in the search, which included helicopter, boats, all-terrain vehicles, a specially trained ground team, and a review of surveillance video from around that area. The city of Cyril has also suspended trash services as investigators search for clues. The Bureau said which is actually pretty smart, so they don't end up dumping the remains if they could have found them in a trash can. So that's actually pretty smart. The Bureau said agents were following up on tips from, I guess we can skip some of that. While authorities have revealed that the pair are married, it appears that they have since split, with Alicia spending a romantic weekend away with her boyfriend just days after Athena went missing. The postal worker who found Athena's sister says she checked the home and no one appeared to be there. Adina is said to have told the worker that she was hungry, which means she was probably being starved, being left at home by herself, and that she couldn't find Athena, who was described as being very shy. Over the weekend of January the 7th and 8th, Alicia, who had guardianship of the sisters, was seen enjoying a trip to the movies and a meal over an hour away in Oklahoma City with her new boyfriend, Bladen Davis. Why they put his whole name out there like that is beyond me, but maybe that's for a reason. But Bladen is the new boyfriend. That's woof. But I get it, though. I like the accountability. Alicia regularly shares videos of herself rapping on TikTok, singing along to the N-word, and making joke clips about her life as a busy mother. So apparently she is a bigot, prejudice, or what some people would refer to as racist, singing the N-word and recording videos. So apparently she don't like black folks. Not that that even matters. If you don't like black folks, you have every right to not like us, I guess. I guess there's, enough of that going around. But I digress. She has 4 children of her own. 4 children plus these 2. So 4 children of her own who regularly feature on her Instagram account. But Athena and Adina were never shown, and it remains unclear how the girls ended up in her care. Let me tell you guys this. If you have 4 children, I think the last thing you should be doing is dating, thinking about more dick, and probably thinking about producing more kids, especially when you've already taken on 2 additional children, right? That you were neglecting, that you didn't give a shit about, huh? Somebody please tell me that that doesn't sound exactly like what I describe as babies for benefits. Why would you have 6 children and still be dating? because you cannot split your attention. None of them can. Between two people, you can't split your attention between 6 individuals, not properly. That's hard as hell to do. There are a lot of people who have 1 or 2 children that still need nannies and still need babysitters and daycare and all kind of stuff, right? It multiplies and multiplies as you have more children. And this is why I believe that having a ton of kids is always a bad thing, because you cannot give them the proper attention and you can't make the proper investment financially to take care of all of them properly. The children's paternal grandmother, Penny Brownfield, is in Cyril and joined the search for the missing grandchild. But like I say, the body's already been found, so that is essentially breaking news. So let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's talk about these news videos. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, video. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And we're just kind of getting this video started. So if you guys would do me a favor and click that thumbs up, don't waste any time. Hit that thumbs up so more people can see this as quickly as possible. Let's go ahead and talk about these news videos.
Athena's 5-year-old sister wandering alone in a town southwest of Oklahoma City. Adams is charged with first-degree murder and child neglect. His wife is also charged with child neglect.
Fox 10 News is back.
New details in the arrest of a fugitive in Phoenix in connection to a missing girl in Oklahoma.
Yes, a heartbreaking story. Court documents say 36-year-old Ivan Adams beat the little girl to death and buried her body. Adams' wife, Alyssa, told investigators it happened on Christmas morning. The couple were caregivers for the 4-year-old little girl named Athena Brownfield. Law enforcement has been looking for her since last week when a postal worker found Athena's 5-year-old sister wandering alone in a town southwest of Oklahoma City. Adams is charged with first-degree murder and child neglect. His wife is also charged with child neglect.
Authorities.
Let me address somebody in the comments real quick that addressed a very small part about what I said. Said 98.7% of rap and hip-hop has the N-word in it, and singing along with it doesn't make one racist. First and foremost, I said what people would describe as racist, because racism is a system of oppression. So I said that can't even be possible because the majority of us don't even have a system to oppress or do anything to anybody. So first and foremost, I will address what you just said. I didn't say it was racist. I said people would consider that person to be racist. When I said it just sounded like they don't like black people. It has been a long-standing thing that it is not proper for any white person on planet Earth to use the word N. I don't care who says it. That has always been a thing. You can not like it. You can put whatever statistic or spin on it that you want to. That is a known fact that no black people are going to like any white person to say that, period. And if you do, then you're going to be considered to be not liking black people. That's blackism 101, I guess. Come on, man. Let's not argue semantics. I didn't say anything that was wrong. I hate when people come in and say crap like that. I didn't say anything that was wrong. If you're going to say that, at least wait for a moment when I've said something that's wrong. Maybe you were triggered. Maybe it hurt your little feelings. It's not a word that I use very often. And when I use it, I definitely mean it in a derogatory way. There are some people on this earth who are the scum of the earth who I believe that fit that terminology. I just, in my personal opinion, don't believe that the people who use that word to oppress people that look like me is proper for them to use that word. I'm sorry, and I'm never going to change my thoughts on that. Okay? Now let's move the hell on. Please. That was a smidgen of what I said. Jesus Christ, calm down. We ain't even got to something that's going to piss you off yet. Wait till I say something that's really going to piss you off first.
Say their search for a missing 4-year-old is now considered a recovery operation. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation says it is searching for the remains of Athena Brownfield in Caddo County with the help of other law enforcement agencies. 2 people have been arrested in connection with the case. Ivan Adams and his wife Alicia Adams are both charged with child neglect, while Ivan is charged with murder. According to published reports, in court documents charging Ivan, authorities said that Alicia said Ivan killed Athena on Christmas Day of 2022. OSBI says the couple were responsible for Athena and her 5-year-old sister's care for about a year. On January 10th, Athena's sister was found unsupervised outside of their home by a postal worker who notified police. That's when authorities say they discovered Athena was missing. Ivan Adams was taken into custody in Arizona, where he waived his right to an extradition hearing and will be sent back to Oklahoma. Alicia is in custody in Oklahoma. Investigators say she is related to the children. They also say the children's parents are cooperating with the investigation. For Inside Edition.
Abby, Jess, the court wouldn't allow cameras in or outside of the room, but like you said, I was there as Alicia Adams faced a judge for the first time. Now, in these court documents released today, we learned that Ivan and Alicia Adams, the caregivers of Athena and her 5-year-old sister, had the girls in their care for 1.5 to 2 years.
They were in their custody for 1.5 to 2 years. I want y'all to notice something. I want y'all to notice that they never mention why the children were in her custody, were placed with her to begin with. Yes, it's a kinship placement. Thank you for posting that in the chat. It's a kinship placement. But why? W-H-Y. Why was it a placement? Why did that have to happen? Where were the crappy ass parents, biological mother and biological father? Where were those meth heads? I can guarantee you that they lost custody of their children for a reason. What do y'all want to bet? Anybody want to place a bet on that? I can guarantee you there was a great reason why the biological mother and biological father lost custody, and they had to do a kinship placement. Here's the thing. Most of the time, it's a good thing to try and do. But see, this is why the system can't win. This is why I hate people getting mad at CPS, Child Protective Services. What the hell are they supposed to do? You don't do nothing, you get in trouble. You place them with somebody else, you get in trouble. You place them with family members, you get in trouble. You place them with somebody that's qualified, you get in trouble. You don't ask enough questions, you get in trouble. It just seems like a job that is a lose-lose situation. A double-edged sword that cuts on both sides. In general, you want to try to find a family member that this child can stay with first. Why would you want to put the children with strangers? Because this is usually how it ends up. You would think that somebody who has a DNA tie to the children wouldn't do something like this. Because these children would end up going into the system and maybe never find a home. They'd just be in a shelter somewhere or something like that, which is not good either. So I don't disagree with the idea of trying to find a family member to place the children with, but this is definitely not what you want to happen either. You don't want to put them with people that don't care, because otherwise, don't take the kids on. If you got 4 kids, ma'am, let me just say that your punk ass probably shouldn't have asked for the kids. You got enough kids. Unless you're running like a nursery or a daycare, I really don't see the point of people having more than 3 kids. You got 6 kids in the house. To me, that's a red flag. That's a problem. More times than none. Let's keep going.
It says that their biological mom gave her daughters to this couple. Now, Alicia, one of the girls' caregivers, is now facing 2 felony counts of child neglect, one for leaving Athena's 5-year-old sister unsupervised, the second for leaving Athena without protection from her husband, Ivan Adams, who allegedly murdered the 4-year-old little girl. $500,000. That's the bond amount that was set today at the Caddo County Courthouse as Alicia Adams faced her fate. If posted, a judge ruled Adams will have to stay in Oklahoma, wear a GPS tracking device, and can't have any contact with witnesses, some of those who may be her own children.
Guys, there's a lot more to talk about. We got a lot more videos to talk about. We've got a lot of stories to talk about. If y'all would, we've got more than double the amount of people watching than we do thumbs up. If y'all would, please take a second and hit that thumbs up. I hate that I even have to stop the video to do that because I know people have been watching for long enough. Please type in the chat. Let me know when you guys have clicked that thumbs up. We want to have at least 1 thumb up for everybody watching. That's free and it don't cost anything. Please hit that thumbs up. What's up, Big Timer? What's up? What's going on? Shout out to you, bro. If everybody who has not clicked that thumbs up, please click the thumbs up. 400 thumbs up. That's where we should be right now. We should easily be there. I think this story is important enough. If y'all are watching, if you think this story is important enough, hit the thumbs up, please. Please, please.
The public defender in the case put in an application for a gag order, saying it's impossible to have a fair trial with affidavits floating around social media. OSBI warned the public yesterday that social media rumors could hinder progress. This affidavit released today details what may have happened to Athena Brownfield. It says the caregivers never enrolled Athena's 5-year-old sister in school or took the girls to the doctor. Athena's sister told police when they found her all alone that she was, quote, tired of being alone. It's unclear how long that little girl was left without care. Documents say Alicia confessed to investigators last week that her husband, Ivan Adams, beat and killed Athena on Christmas Day. We're going to keep pushing for answers for a clear timeline of what has happened in this investigation. Investigators have searched lakes, land, even the home where Athena was living. And new today, agents here at OSBI tell us that little Athena Brownfield was living with Ivan and Alicia Adams, her caregivers. Now we know that Alicia was related to little Athena, and now both of them are behind bars. A small town community lighting candles in honor of 4-year-old Athena Brownfield. Athena's caretakers, Ivan and Alicia Adams, were arrested Thursday, 2 days after Athena was reported missing. We still don't know the last time she was actually seen.
And thank you guys for clicking that thumbs up. I see that number is going up, and I appreciate that. And I don't mean to stop the video to even bring that up, but thank y'all for clicking that thumbs up. Let's try to keep that going.
Ivan now faces first-degree murder and child neglect charges. Court documents from Arizona, where he was arrested, tell us evidence was found on his cell phone. He appeared before a judge Friday for the first time.
I want to get there and take care of it.
Now he waits to be brought back to Oklahoma.
I need to get there and fight this.
Alicia Adams, the other caretaker who was related to Athena, is set to face a judge for the first time tomorrow in Caddo County. She faces possible child neglect charges, but has not been formally charged by the state, and no documents have been released about what she's accused of. OSBI says the biological parents of Athena have been cooperating, and agents warn the public to not speculate through social media as it could interfere with their investigation. Investigators also ask that you don't self-deploy in helping search for Athena's remains, as you could be trespassing or contaminate evidence in this ongoing investigation.
Now to a breaking development out of Oklahoma, where investigators say they found the remains of a child. Police making that tragic discovery today while searching for a missing girl. Now, Athena Brownfield was reported missing last Tuesday. New court documents have revealed gruesome details of what may have happened to the 4-year-old. and a chilling confession from the person who was supposed to be caring for her. Caitlin Ogle from our Oklahoma City affiliate explains how this turned into a recovery effort.
Little Athena's caretaker and relative was just arraigned inside the Caddo County Courthouse. Her bond now set at $500,000. Last Tuesday, Athena's older sister told a postal worker she was tired of being alone in her surreal home. That kicked off a massive search for little Athena. It started in a home, then moved to a Grady County field, then a pond.
I want y'all to think about that for a moment. That little girl said that she was tired of being home alone. Think about how many times this child had to been left at home alone, and how many other children would have been in the home if the mom and husband were there. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 people that she's used to being around. 8 people inside of a small home. And you mean to tell me they're gone that often? That you're tired of being at home alone. And on top of that, this is why I believe that this woman needs probably more time than what they're going to give her. Because not only are you related, this is disgusting, and those children wouldn't have been in your custody if you hadn't asked for them and accepted custody of them. But to take your other children, knowing how valuable babies and children and being a mother and a parent is, that you leave the other children behind. That in itself, child neglect, that should at some point maybe even be considered for attempted murder when you leave children alone at that age by themselves. We might not ever get to the point where we can consider that attempted murder, but I would love to see that happen. I would love to see a much harsher charge. How many years y'all think she should get in prison? Thank you, Rachel Ray said, you are amazing. Thank you so much for the super chat, showing some love. I appreciate that. I'm always so thankful when y'all come in and show support like that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Leaving a child alone like that, or children alone like that, is just flat out unnecessary. That's just cruel. You could have just left the situation to the state to figure it out what to do with the kids, if that was the case. But to just step in and say, I'll take care of them, and then you leave them by themselves like that? No. What y'all think? 25 to life? Maybe? 25 years, get out on good behavior?
Thursday, Athena's relative, Alicia Adams, was arrested on 2 counts of child neglect. Hundreds of miles away in Arizona, Alicia's husband, Ivan Adams, was arrested. He's now facing first-degree murder and child neglect charges. New court documents show on Christmas night around midnight, Ivan allegedly beat Athena, then held her up by her arms. Alicia told investigators the little girl was not moving and her eyes were barely closed. Ivan Adams then, quote, laid her on the ground and punched her at least 3 more times in the chest. Little Athena never moved after that. We're told Athena's biological parents are now working with investigators, and her older sister is now in the care of a family member and is safe. Back to you, Nicole.
All right, thank you for that. And those remains have not yet been positively identified. We will continue to follow this and bring you any updates. Thank you for watching.
So again, in closing, here's why I put the accountability and how we can get to a point to where this never even happens. The accountability has to be put on the biological mother and biological father for not loving your children enough to get in a position like this where they have to be taken into someone else's household, whether it be family or friends, a grandmother or whoever. These kids should have never had to go into another household. Here's the crazy thing about it, with these children being 1 year apart in age. When you had the first child, you should have known we financially can't take care of this child. Maybe stop there. But you know what we do? We get so selfish and we get so enthralled in the idea of having some nasty, funky, sweaty, stinking sex, getting an orgasm, getting our nut off. We think about that and value that more than the procreation that we end up causing as an act of that. Then what do? You bring another child into this world just because you couldn't be responsible with your sexuality. Either to wear a condom, to have contraceptives, to maybe be on the shot, to maybe get your tubes tied, whatever it is. Having these children is a choice. And biological mother and biological father chose to bring these two kids into this world without a plan. Next thing you know, now they need a home. They need somewhere to go. They end up going to a home that couldn't accommodate any additional children. How was that even possible? Some people are saying that they might have went outside of Child Protective Services and they just might have dropped the kids off. Either way it goes, that's still a choice. Even if she came by the house and dropped them off, you could have called CPS, Child Protective Services, police, the courts, or anything and said, hey, this woman over here or this man over here, they're not being good parents over here. And y'all need to figure out something to do with these kids because we can't take them. I have 4. It's still a choice. And everybody in this family needs to be held accountable, especially the biological mother, biological father, outside of these two individuals. But let me say this, to hold accountability, still no excuse for this man to get mad at those children, especially that baby, to beat her to death like that, for this woman to know about it, watch it happen, didn't say anything. I think there should be some additional charges, maybe some harboring a fugitive from justice or desecrating a corpse for knowing that it happened and you didn't say anything. I don't know. I just wish there were more charges and more accountability there. But I think for her, 10 to 25 years would be great. For the boyfriend, the estranged ex-husband, life in prison. That's easy. Give him life in prison. But these babies, both of these baby girls couldn't speak for themselves nor defend themselves against the tyranny of their caretakers in this moment. What were they supposed to do? Who's going to cry for these little girls? Who's going to ask for justice for these little girls? Who's going to see this through to the end to make sure that we at least get some semblance of justice in the court system? For us to lose this little girl in that manner, we would never find justice on this earth. They need a one-way ticket straight to hell, both of them. And I hope their actual biological children are ashamed of them. And I hope they're able to grow up and become something great in spite of these two idiots. May that little girl, Athena, may her soul rest in peace. To the other little girl, Adina, keep her in your prayers because she's going to need it. And that baby girl has been traumatized so much. It's a good thing that she's so young because maybe she can emotionally, spiritually, and physically, she can get over this probably, I don't know, by her teenage years, and maybe can grow up and become something phenomenal. I would love to see that happen, okay? But keep those babies in your prayers, all of those babies in your prayers, okay? Thank you. Some people might be familiar with my method of how I tend to talk about stories. When it involves a child that is an adolescent underage in the eyes of the law that has done something, I generally will skip it. I generally will skip it because I'm not here to rail against children. I'm here to help advocate for children. So I do know that those stories exist, but I think this was just a little bit different. Because first of all, you have a lower level of school, elementary school. Then you have some checks and balances that were taken before it even got to this point. Then you have this teacher. Then we could talk about teachers in general. We can talk about what led up to this. But one thing I can guarantee you that when you watch this video, I'm going to say something that's not only going to trigger you, but I'm going to say something that no other YouTuber has said about this story. But first, let me give you my disclaimer. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I don't want to see a single person get mad about what I'm about to say. I'm getting this story from nypost.com, so thank you for the article. This story coming out of Virginia, and there was a first grade teacher in Virginia who was shot with a gun by her 6-year-old student, and this teacher was intending to try to confiscate the gun when the child pulled the trigger to the gun. It's kind of hard for me to speculate whether this child might have done it on purpose or not, but I just don't think it's far-fetched for a lot of reasons, and I hope y'all don't get mad about what I'm about to say. The first triggering thing I'm about to say is this. I think the child pulled the trigger and shot this teacher on purpose. This was not an accident. Point number 1. This was not an accident. Y'all can type that in the chat and say those are Jay's words. The reason I believe this was not an accident is because children watch enough stuff on their tablets and phones and TV and technology. They know what a gun is. Even at this age, even at this level, children know what a gun is. Even at 6 years old, believe it or not. They understand what it is. They understand that it completes a function. It's a tool. They understand generally how it works. Here's why I believe that it was done on purpose. The purpose was that this child knew there was a gun in the house. This child took that gun and brought it to school, knowing that that child was not supposed to have an item like that in school, knowing that this child had been going to school and doesn't see anybody else at school with these items. And then to take that item and pull the trigger. You don't end up bringing a gun knowing what it does and then end up shooting a teacher when a teacher tries to take something that you know not only doesn't belong to you, but something that you didn't want them to have and take from you. This teacher was trying to exert her authority. See what I'm saying? Now, we will get to more of the semantics here in a moment. I hope y'all are ready because I'm getting ready to talk about race here in just a moment. But let's keep going. She was going to confiscate it, and that's when he shot. So it's a 6-year-old boy. Let me tell y'all this. For those who don't know, it is a 6-year-old black boy. It's a black boy. It is his black mother's gun. I'm almost positive I am not going to have to retract that because that I know is a fact. Anybody else who wants to come out and say that this child is from some other nationality or some country, pretty sure that's going to end up being wrong. I'm just talking about the behavior, just talking about the psychology, the dichotomy of how this went down, okay? Now, let's keep going. Brittany Gregory, whose son was in the class, told the Washington Post that the teacher was trying to take the gun from him, and that's when he shot. Abby Zwerner, who's 25 years old, that's the teacher on the right-hand side, and because you have the superintendent who's black, that lets me know that when a black man comes out and speaks on this, that's a superintendent, that lets me know that he's probably trying to defend a black boy, a black student. I could be wrong, but I just think so. That's just what I believe. Abby was shot at about 2 p.m. Friday at Ricknick Elementary School in Newport News, Virginia. She is listed in serious but stable condition, which is a great thing, at Riverside Regional Medical Center, the paper reported. The teacher has been hailed a hero for warning the other kids to flee when the shooting erupted. How many times did she get shot? Once? More than once? I would love to know if this teacher was shot more than once or if the shooting, if there was more shots than just one shot. Because you might be able to argue that one shot might have been an accident, but if it were multiple shots, nah, Definitely not an accident. Let's keep going. The 6-year-old child has been taken into custody after the shocking incident, which police chief Steve Drew said resulted from a fight and was not an accidental shooting. But who already said that? I already said that. I already alluded to that. I love the fact that they said that this was not an accident, which would mean what? This child knew what they were doing. You see how I'm drawing these conclusions? Let's keep going. It was unclear what sparked the fight or how the boy managed to get a hold of the weapon. Now, what sparked the fight, here's here's where I might get in some trouble. Let's talk about the black household. Let's just make some assumptions. Let me take my laptop. I'm going to push it aside. I hope y'all are ready for this. How are most black children brought into this world? Black children in general, not all, but quite a few, a large percentage of black children are brought into this world outside of a marriage, outside of a stable household. Most black children are born unto single mothers, if they even have mothers, but more times than none, they generally will at least be raised in a single parent household with their mommies, right? Number 2, knowing that these children and most of these black kids, and this is where I can speak for the black community because I know the dichotomy, most black children don't have their father in their life. Most black children nowadays, at a large percentage, are not raised with their father. Therefore, they don't have that stability that young boys are going to need. So they don't have that confidence. They don't have that self-awareness. They don't have that foresight of what they should grow up and become and how they should act because they don't have that father figure in the house. Therefore, the only example that they have is their mothers. Their mothers, more times than none, are going to be more on the emotional side than the logical side. And how is that a bad thing? Because when you raise these boys without the balance of having the emotional and the logical, you put those things together and you normally will raise a balanced person. When you don't have that, you raise an imbalanced person. You raise these boys to be more emotional, more like they mommies, right? I'm going to tell you guys this. I was looking on Twitter, I think it was either yesterday or today, and there was actually a Twitter account that was dedicated to showing nothing but girl fights, adolescent girl fights. And I was like, wow, like what is this world coming to? But you know what's funny? If you actually go back on I don't even have the videos up anymore because I can't show fights on YouTube anymore. Maybe that's for the best. I don't know. But there used to be a point where every time you pulled up a fight, guess who was fighting? Women. And there were a lot of black women fights. Not saying that there weren't white women fights, but what I'm saying is that a lot of the fights, a lot of the vicious fights that I saw, welcome to Fatherless America, thank you, and shout out to Tommy Sotomayor, thank you Jimmy D for posting it in the chat. This all goes back to what Tommy has been talking about for years. But let's keep going. It became so normal to see girl fights, and you'd have to ask yourself, and this leads me all back to the story. So you're wondering, how do I make all of these conclusions? Well, I have to explain it to you. The reason why you have all of these women behaving like this is because you don't have very much accountability anymore for the women. There's not much shame and there's not much legal ramification for women to show their ass and act a fool, literally and figuratively. Literally and figuratively. They can show their ass. Nobody says anything. Nobody shuns them. They actually praise it. Thank you for showing your buns. Thank you for showing your skin, right? And then when they act a fool, there's nobody there to hold them accountable. In general, not all. For those who want to get triggered, not all. Okay? When there is no accountability, that person can tend to act entitled and think that it's their world, their way, and they don't have to follow the rules. Well, what's the problem with that when you're raising boys? Girls can clearly get away with it. Girls can go out and go have fights and nobody says anything. Nobody gets arrested. Nobody gets suspended. You break them up, you break up the cat fight, and they go on about their day like ain't nothing happened. What happens when boys get into fights? They get suspended. They get arrested. You don't have men fights, and that's really, if you think about it, this is why you don't see a lot of street fights with dudes. There are not a lot of videos anymore of a bunch of dude fights. 15, 20 dudes out scrapping how they used to back in the 80s and 90s. It don't really happen that way anymore. Well, that's why. Because they know everybody going to go to jail when it's men fighting. The police show up, they're going to arrest everybody. Right? But here's the problem when you're raised by a woman and no man in the household. You tend to think that everything that you see women get away with, even at 5 and 6 years old, you're just like, well, she can get away with it. Why can't I do it? Which is how you end up having these boys trying to behave like they mom, talk like they mom, think like they mom, dress like they mom. They get those feminine characteristics pretty early on. I'm not saying that being a woman is a bad thing, but I am saying that a man not being masculine can lead to bad things. I am saying that. If y'all wonder why there aren't enough masculine men, good men, it's because you have to raise masculine boys. Huh? When you take recess out of the schools and don't allow boys to be boys, guess what you get? You get a bunch of emotional, effeminate boys. How do we get that and bring it back to this story, which I'm reading from nypost.com? How do we get here? How does this teacher get shot behind it? How does Judge Jay tie all of this together? Let's tie it together in a nice little knot. Let's tie it together in a nice little knot. This boy has clearly seen his mom act a fool, and there's no accountability. His mom might have even threatened somebody with that weapon, with that gun. Now, I'm a proponent for guns. I'm not against weapons. I'm not against guns. It's just a tool. It just depends on the mentality of the person that has the tool. That's what has to be controlled. The person has to have a level of self-control when they have that weapon, when they have that tool. Because last time I checked, people are still killing people with knives and pots and pans and hot water and drowning them in pools and running people over with cars and stuff. That we haven't outlawed any of those things. We haven't outlawed stomping people in the head. We haven't outlawed feet and shoes. So I don't believe that we should outlaw guns. But I do think that we need to enforce accountability. So when you have a situation like this, where the mom might have been a law-abiding citizen who has her gun, has her weapon, and then has her weapon in a place where her child could get access to it that easy, knows where the gun is, grabs the gun, knows what the gun is, takes the gun to school. If this child is at this school already fighting, then guess what that means? That means that this child is probably at that school with other people and other children who don't know how to behave. Why are they fighting in school? That's not normal for elementary school kids to be fighting. Let me say that again. That is not a normal thing for elementary school kids to be fighting on this level. I grew up in a school like that, and I'm telling you, it's not normal. I went to school with some folks that were hard heads. A lot of them now are dead or in jail or struggling. Not all, but quite a few of them. I could spend hours just naming the people and talking about the stories. That's not normal because of the dichotomy of the environment that we grew up in. We became a product of our environment. And that's showed in our actions. I'm telling you, for these kids to not only go to school and be fighting, to go to school and hate somebody to a point to where you feel like you need to bring a weapon. But this 6-year-old black boy brought that gun because he probably was listening to his elder peers, his elder statesmen talking about how they lighten up the block, and I got the blicky and I got the extendo, I got dick sticks and all of that, and I'm lighting up the block, and how prevalent this drill music is, and how easy it is for black men to rap it freely and carefree about killing other black men. It's in these babies, and they know this music. And they're already thinking, well, if I don't like this dude, I'm going to light him up. I'm going to shoot him. That's what I'm going to do. You going to disrespect me? Oh, I'm sure none of y'all thought I was going to go here. Anybody still watching this video right now, I'm sure y'all didn't think I was going to go here. This little 6-year-old effeminate, 6-year-old little boy, raised in the behavior of his mother, said, oh, this boy ain't about to be disrespecting me. I'm going to put some bullets in his behind. So he brought the gun up to the school and said, I'm going to deal with this how my rapper idols deal with this. Or maybe even how my mama deals with this. Then guess what? He gets caught with the gun. That gun in his mind is literally his barrier, his protection, his lifeline. If he loses control of this gun, then everything in his life ends. So in his mind, he's thinking, I have to protect this gun at all costs. And nobody's taking this gun from me. Are y'all ready to get back to the story now that we've talked about why this was on purpose and what led up to this and how this little boy would have a mentality like this? Let's keep going. Gregory said that when the teacher told the children to run, they fled to another teacher's classroom and remained under lockdown. The mom describes Werner as her son's favorite teacher who would leave notes in his backpack. I hope you have a great day, Gregory said. The teacher wrote in one. I want you to know that your smile is contagious, another teacher said, according to the parents. And they try to, these parents do the best that they can to try to make these children who are really growing up in some rough environments feel good about themselves. Let me give a shout out to my guy, my brother Chris Thorne's show. Also a YouTuber. Y'all make sure to go check him out. Subscribe to Chris Thorne's. Post your link in there if you would, please. Said my brother showing some love by way of the super chat. So shout out to Chris Thorne's, man. Make sure you show him some love. Go subscribe to his channel if y'all would, please. Gregory said that her son is still in shock and has nightmares from the shooting. He normally sleeps in his own room, but the night of the shooting, he came into my room. He was talking in his sleep, saying, we got to get out of here, she told the paper, adding that she plans to take her son to a therapist. Y'all got to remember, these are little bitty kids. I think these are second graders, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, let me see. I can skip some of this. We can skip some of this. This is just about everybody's reaction. Andrew Block, an associate professor of the University of Virginia School of Law, said that it's unlikely the shooter could be prosecuted, even though there is no minimum age for being charged with a crime in Virginia. As a practical matter, it would be next to impossible to prosecute a 6-year-old, no matter how serious. Block, the former director of Virginia Department of Juvenile Justice, told the Washington Post. He cited the infancy defense, in which people under the age of 7 years of age do not have the ability or mental state to form the intent to commit a crime. And I can understand that. The bigger barrier, presuming the prosecution would overcome that, is that all defendants have to be competent to stand trial, which they would never be able to make a case out of that. That means you have to understand the nature of legal proceedings against you and assist in your own defense. There is no way a 6-year-old will be able to meet that criteria. But Block noted that an adult could face misdemeanor charges if the pistol came from a home where the child lives, because under the state law, guns must be secured from kids under the age of 14 years old. And here's what you would have to ask. If you have that gun in the household, like they actually have gun locks. I think in some places you can actually get gun locks for free. I know when I bought my last 2 guns, I got gun locks for free. You got to know how to use them. You got to know how to keep your gun locked up. So if that gun were under lock and key, maybe either in a, not a gun holster, what do you call those things? A lock box, or at least if you take the magazine out, you clear it, open up the slide and put that gun lock in there. If you have the key, the child, even if they had the gun, wouldn't be able to do anything with the gun if they would have had it under lock and key, which I definitely think that falls on the mother. The mother absolutely should be prosecuted to some extent. But I still believe that this was done on purpose, so I think that that article stated that properly. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Here we go. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And if you guys would, let me know when y'all go over there to Chris Thorne's channel and subscribe. He put the link in there, so y'all make sure and go show him some love. And anybody else who has a YouTube channel, if you're a moderator in here, you can post your link in here anytime you guys get ready. But if you guys would, do me a favor and click that thumbs up. I know not everybody's going to understand where I'm coming from, how I explain that, and why I know that to be a fact with describing how this child was raised and how he ends up getting to a point to where he feels the need to take a gun to school and then end up shooting a teacher. But until you can prove otherwise, I suggest just take heed to my word. Here we go.
At least one administrator was...
Tonight, shocking new details revealed after a 6-year-old shot his teacher in a Virginia school last week. The school superintendent revealing that a school administrator was told the child may have brought a gun to school that day.
At least one administrator was notified of a possible weapon in the timeline that we're reviewing, and was aware that student there was a potential that a weapon was on campus.
The superintendent also saying a school staffer searched the child's backpack, but found nothing. Hours after the search, the first-grade student shot his teacher, Abigail Zwerner, in the chest with a 9mm handgun. The 25-year-old hailed a hero for managing to get the rest of her class to safety.
I believe that Miss Zwerner, Abigail, that she saved lives on Friday.
Zwerner remains hospitalized in stable condition. Parents now demanding answers on how this could have happened. Maria Navarrete has 2 kids that attend Rich Neck Elementary. She says she doesn't feel comfortable sending them back to school until more is done to prevent this from happening again.
Just a whisper of a gun should have been a phone call to the police with multiple school shootings happening, around the U.S.
The community pushing the school system to do more to protect students and teachers.
Newport News police say they were not contacted about that initial tip concerning the gun, and the school district hasn't revealed how that tip came to them and whether the boy was physically searched after nothing was found in his backpack.
That's the thing that confuses me, because at some point they found out that this boy had this gun. Now, which point is still kind of lost to me, but let's keep going.
At least one administrator was notified of a possible weapon in the timeline that we're reviewing, and was aware that there was a potential that a weapon was on campus.
A traumatized community and a school district picking up the pieces, looking to other school systems like Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 adults were killed last May.
We've been in contact with Uvalde in Texas, who have been very gracious in communicating with us.
After 3 school shootings in 3 years, Newport News Public Schools is changing the way the district handles security. At Rich Neck during Thursday's town hall, Superintendent Dr. George Parker discussed requiring clear backpacks for all students at Rich Neck Elementary.
These are the ones we're considering right now. Newport News Public School will purchase the backpacks.
adding doors to the second grade hallway, updating the school's front entrance, and installing permanent metal detectors. Devices not just for Rich Neck, but all schools in the Newport News Division. School Board Chair Lisa Searles Law announced hours earlier during a news conference that the board has just secured funding for 90 state-of-the-art metal detectors. The devices can automatically identify if someone has a weapon on them without slowing down morning arrivals.
So we just got our approval to purchase them yesterday. So we are in the process of making those orders. We have requested that we get the ones for Rich Neck immediately.
Parent Tom Amon praised the district's decision to purchase metal detectors.
If the teachers don't believe they're being heard, and the students and the teachers don't feel they're safe, they can't teach and they can't learn.
In the meantime, Dr. Parker told Rich Neck parents the district is still working on when students can go back to school.
We want to make sure we have measures in place that will allow our faculty and our students, and you, our parents, to feel that your student, confidence that your student is entering a safe building on a daily basis.
Alarming admission for school officials in Newport News, Virginia tonight, where police say a 6-year-old first grader shot the teacher. The superintendent now acknowledging that someone had warned the school that the boy might have a gun. They say his backpack was searched. So, of course, the question, how was the gun missed? Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, a stunning admission from school and police officials in Newport News, Virginia. Just hours before a 6-year-old student opened fire on his teacher, a staffer was warned the boy might be armed with a gun.
At least one administrator was notified of a possible weapon and was aware that there was a potential that a weapon was on campus.
In a virtual town hall obtained by Wavy TV, the superintendent telling families when the first grader arrived late for school.
Real quick, if you guys would do me a favor, we want to have one thumb up for everybody watching. I know people are kind of slowly coming in, but if y'all will, hit that thumbs up for me, please. Thank you.
Someone reported he might have a weapon, but a search of his backpack turned up nothing, and police say they were not alerted. A few hours later, the boy shot his teacher with his mother's 9mm pistol.
It was taken out of a book bag and concealed on his person, and after recess, it was pointed and fired.
25-year-old Abby Werner was shot in the hand and chest and is still hospitalized in stable condition. Police say she saved lives that day.
That young lady stopped, got those kids out of that room, and stopped while she had suffered a gunshot wound and turned around to make sure those kids were safe.
David, we don't know how school officials missed that gun. We don't know if they patted the boy down, searched his pockets, or if the gun was somehow hidden. And we also don't know if they called the boy's parents when they were told he might have a gun.
The boy hid the gun, which means that this was intentional.
Getting some updates, some pretty alarming updates out of this story we brought you 1 week ago out of Newport News, Virginia, of that shooting at Rich Neck Elementary School. A 6-year-old brought a gun, shot his first grade teacher. That teacher still recovering on the mend. She's expected to survive, but we're learning now that administrators at that school where that first grader shot his teacher last week learned the child may have had a weapon in his possession before the shooting, but did not find the 9mm handgun he brought to school despite searching his bag, searching his backpack. That's according to comments made by the school's superintendent. Police said today they were not told about the tip before the shooting occurred. Kelly King, a spokesperson for the Newport News Police Department, told the Associated Press that sometime after the shooting, police learned through their investigation that a school employee was notified of a possible gun at Rich Neck Elementary before the shooting.
In Newport News, Virginia, where we are learning more about the 6-year-old student who shot his teacher last week.
That's right, because officials are now revealing that at least one school administrator knew that the child may have had a weapon on him hours before the shooting.
So here's what people are asking. People are asking, he didn't like his teacher? No, it wasn't necessarily that. The boy, from what we understand, was involved in some type of altercation with another student, which prompted him, I guess at some point, maybe this happened at a prior point, brought the gun to the school in order to either protect himself or to take action against that other student. And once it was known that this boy had this gun, they tried to find the gun, couldn't find the gun. And then once the teacher approached him and the boy had the gun on himself, then the teacher tried to take the gun from him and ended up getting shot. So that's the way it went down. He shot his teacher because he didn't want the teacher to take his gun from him.
NBC News correspondent Kathy Park is here in studio with us with the very latest. Hi, Kathy. So obviously this revelation seems quite shocking, and we understand that this was actually people were made aware during an online meeting with parents. What exactly did the superintendent say?
Yeah, so this meeting was for parents only. It was last night. A lot of folks obviously shaken by this incident. So the biggest revelation, as you mentioned, was at least one administrator knew that this child had a weapon. This prompted a search. However, that search came up empty-handed. But the superintendent is saying, look, because of this incident, a lot of changes are coming from the administrative front, but also with security. And what's interesting is that the superintendent said that they've actually been in touch with Robb Elementary in Uvalde to get some ideas on how to beef up their security system. So they know that in the front of the building, they're going to have to make some changes. So they're going to know who's coming in and out of that building, but also moving forward, they'll be installing metal detectors as well. But this is just one of many changes. But here's a little bit more from last night's meeting. Take a listen.
We can actually skip all of that, and let's just get back to our main point. Whether they're metal detectors or not, like, these kids shouldn't even have access to guns like that. Okay? So the fact that a child would think that they need a gun, whether that environment is dangerous or whether their mindset is just not set up properly, that's a problem in itself. And I think that you have to treat the mental condition of either this child being emotional to that level, non-logical, the fact that these boys are being raised, especially in the black community, with no fathers, that's a problem in itself, which means that they don't value themselves. And then if they don't value themselves, they're going to go out into the world, like I've been saying for years, and continue to perpetrate this violence against people who look just like them and others. Been saying this for years. But they set up a GoFundMe for the teacher. Let me see if I can get that up here for you guys real quick. Because the GoFundMe got quite a bit of support. Let me get that up here real quick. Now I want you guys to remember that this teacher survived. Somebody put up a GoFundMe, it looks like a family member, in hopes of collecting $250,000. I mean, hey, I guess if you can get it, you can get it. It's a big story. Everybody's heard about it. They've already collected just under half of that, $121,000, but I'm pretty sure they're going to reach a pretty high number. But $250,000, I mean, if you want to donate it, fine. She survived. And maybe if you want to use that money, take it, relocate, maybe work at a better school district, a safer school district statistically. I get it. Take the money and move, go somewhere else. But it just sucks because let's talk about the situation with teachers. And here's why I'm actually okay with that GoFundMe. If the world wants to put up a bunch of GoFundMes for teachers, I'm all for that. And let me tell you why. Because most of these teachers are subjected to the worst conditions when it comes to the material that they have to teach with, to the condition of their classrooms, to the conditions of their bathroom, to the condition of their nutrition, the food that's available there, maybe even the water. But, you know, these children really don't come into a situation like this and value education, value a good teacher who has a good heart. And let me tell you guys this, and again, I'm not trying to rail against children, but I had a video that I can't show here. I do have it, of a video of this little Mexican kid. And there was a teacher that was probably about his same height, maybe about a good 5'6" or so. This little boy was basically had a standoff with his teacher, and he looks like he was maybe about middle school, 7th, 8th grade, maybe 9th grade. I don't know. But he faced off with his teacher and was talking crazy to him, cussing him out, MF this and BA, and using all the cuss words he could think of. And eventually him and the teacher got into a confrontation because the teacher felt threatened. But you got to think about it like this. Like, why are the children so disrespectful to somebody who all they're trying to do is teach you and keep some level of decorum in the classroom? Have you follow the rules and make it to where everybody can learn at the same level without a bunch of interruptions. And a teacher has to get cussed out, get threatened to be killed or get beat up. And this was a black teacher, by the way, getting confronted by a Mexican student. They ended up getting to a fight, and the teacher ended up whooping this boy's behind in the classroom. There are no winners. Even if the teacher wins, he don't win in life. Even if the student would have beat up his teacher, nobody wins in that situation. The teacher's going to get reprimanded, going to get fired. The student's going to get suspended. And that could have been a great teacher. Now, who's going to stand in and teach the rest of those kids at the level that that teacher was teaching those kids, knowing there was a shortage of teachers? My mom used to be a teacher for 42 years. What are you going to do? Get a substitute? How good are substitute teachers? See what I'm saying? Now you're implementing and giving these children crap for teachers. You expect them to learn? You expect those teachers to care, grade their papers properly? They're not trained properly. And most schools do not pay their teachers enough money to be teachers. Most teachers are literally doing this. How many people out there can speak like I can about my mom when she was a teacher who sometimes would have to spend her own money to get things for the kids, whether it be food, whether it be snacks, whether it be supplies for school projects, would have to come out their own pocket. And that is flat out ridiculous. Just like with Jackson State, with Deion Sanders over there, Coach Sanders, Coach Prime, in order for those players in college, at a black college, to be able to do some of the basic things that they should have been able to do out of college, that man had to come out his own pocket, and thank goodness for him that he was financially secure enough to be able to come out of his pocket and spend his own money so that his kids could go out and go do some of the things that they should be able to do in college. My point is that why are we not funding our leaders and teachers? I'm perfectly fine with the GoFundMe like this, because guess what? We should be paying our teachers to that level. We should value education in our country. There's a lot of things that we're going out and spending our money on, like foreign aid. Oh, are we about to get into politics? Maybe so. We're going out and spending money and taking care of these foreign countries. We're taking care of Ukraine. We're taking care of Russia. We're taking care of China. We're taking care of Asia. We're taking care of Africa. Y'all remember when Donald Trump said America first? Does anybody even know what he meant by that? It simply means that we should take care of America first. As long as we have homeless people in America, we shouldn't be helping anybody else. As long as our schools are dilapidated and falling apart and our bathrooms smell pissy and shitty and we got bad pipes and we got places like Flint that still have contaminated water to this day. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. Got Legionnaires and dirty water that is being contaminated and people are still drinking that, boiling it, and bathing in it. Then I don't think we should be that concerned with what's going on in another country. As far as I'm concerned, all outgoing dollars should stop. Hello. This has everything to do with teachers. This has everything to do with America. This has everything to do with our school. And it damn sure has everything to do with our children. Because just as well as I could talk about this story where there was a negative situation with a black 6-year-old child that shot a teacher, I could also tell you about schools. I think it was, why I forget his name. Why did I forget his name? I want to say his name was Barry White Jr. I don't know if it was actually Barry White's son, but if you type that name in, one of the videos that come up on YouTube is a teacher that has a special handshake with every one of his students before they walk into class and start their day. We have stories like that where teachers care, teachers get creative, and teachers do amazing things, and they have amazing kids because those kids allow those teachers to be as amazing as they are and are trained to be. There's no reason why teachers should be paid the least in our country. To deal with something like this? Ain't no freaking way. But we're going to get mad when we don't have teachers, when they don't have qualifications, when you always got substitutes, and these teachers are taking off because they don't want to deal with some of these kids in some of these circumstances. Why does it take people putting up a GoFundMe for this teacher to be compensated properly? It shouldn't have to come to that. But I think we need to make our schools a priority, our teachers a priority, and education and proper homes for our children needs to be a priority. That's all I'm saying. That's the conclusion to this video. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm sure I talked about a lot of stuff. Some of y'all are going to have some things to say. That's what the comment section for. Let me know what you guys think. All right. Thank you.